Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a book related video. I'm going to be sharing with you my January TBR pile. Alright, so for the month of January, I have many books that I am attempting to read. Now I know that we're about a week into January by the time that this is going to be uploaded, but I wanted to go ahead and share with you anyway what I plan to be reading for the month of January. I have a lot of new books and new genres that I'm trying out this year. And so I wanted to share with you what I have with me. So most of my books are library books. There is one book from my own collection that I'm going to be reading. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, I'm going to start with the book that's from my own collection, and that's this book here. It is The Woman in Cabin 10, and it's by Ruth Ware. So this is actually a book that I purchased from a library book sale about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and I believe it was under the suspense and thriller section of the library book sale, but other than that, I don't really know anything about it. I have been getting more into these sort of suspense type novels and thriller type novels, although I'll admit right now it's been kind of hit or miss on whether or not I've really enjoyed them. So I'm hoping that I enjoyed this one. I've seen from some of the people that I follow on Goodreads and some of my friends that they really enjoyed this book, so I'm hoping I enjoy it as well. And then once I'm done with this, I can decide if I want to keep it or declutter it from my collection and donate it to the library back so they can resell it again at another library book sale. I'm guessing this is probably going to be a book I'm going to end up donating, but we'll see. So now we get into the big stack of library books that I got. The first book that I'm going to be reading is The Poppy War, and this is by R.F. Kuang. This is actually a book that I started back in December and was trying to read for one of the December readathons I was participating in, but I just didn't have a chance to finish it or even get very far. I think I'm about where I usually end up stopping with books and then before I move on to another one. So I think I'm about 50 pages in. I'm at chapter 4. 60 pages in. So I don't really know a whole lot about this. What I have read so far is about this girl who, as a way to flee an arranged marriage, she studies very hard for this very difficult test, ends up passing the test with flying colors to the point where she's actually admitted into the top tier academy of her country. And so where I'm at right now, she's just arrived at the academy and kind of realizing that she doesn't quite fit in because she comes from a poor rural area, and all the people at the academy, they are all more wealthy individuals because they had the money to study and become educated, and she just really had to work very, very hard. So I'm hoping I like this. The librarian who checked this out to me said that she really liked it and really enjoyed it. So I have high hopes for this, high expectations. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I'm hoping that I like it. So here's the next one, The Poppy War. The next book is another book that I've already started reading that I did start in January. I've been reading it on my commute to and from work on the train, so I think that's kind of apt. And this is called Miss Subways. It's by David Duchovny, and I actually saw this advertised as like a sponsored Facebook ad, and I was like, what? I had no idea that David Duchovny was a writer because I really like him as an actor, especially in X-Files where he kind of became really well known. And so I was like, I want to see what he's like as a writer. Do I like him? Do I like his writing style? And so I just started reading this. It's a little bit strange. So far it follows this woman. I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's E-M-E-R, maybe Emmer. But she has been dating this guy named Con, which is short for, I think Constance, or maybe that's his last name. Anyway, his nickname is Con, and she's been dating him for a very long time. It seems like comfortable in this relationship. And then I'm at this point where something happens and she has to make a decision. So it's very beginning in the book. It's about, again, I'm 58 pages into the book, but she's just made the decision, and now I'm really kind of curious to see where this book goes. I don't know a whole lot about it other than that. It does mention that there's a little bit of supernatural element in there, which we do kind of see a little bit within those first 58 pages. So we'll see how it is. No judgments yet on this one, but so far it's interesting. The next book is Cinder, and this is by Marissa Mayer, and this is actually going to be a reread for me. So I have read, this is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles, and I have read the first 3 books in that series. I've read Cinder, Scarlet, and Cress. However, I read them a really long time ago before the 4th book, Winter, came out. And then when Winter came out, I checked it out from the library, I started reading it, and then grad school took over my life, and so I had to put that down. And so now that I'm done with grad school, I was thinking, well, I'm gonna go back and finish the series because I did remember liking it. However, I realized I didn't remember very much of the characters, so I did do a kind of quick Wikipedia search of the summary, and I was like, I think I wanna go back and read this again because I remember the summary, I remember liking it, but I want to re-experience the entire story in detail. So here it is. This will be a reread, Cinder by Marissa Mayer. I'm interested to see if I still like it as much as I did a couple years ago when I first read it. So the city that I live in has this reading program where they thought that what if we could get the community to read one book and then talk about this book and have a discussion and kind of share experiences about it and also learn from it. And so they've been doing this for, I think, 5 or 6 years now, maybe 7 even. I participated 2 years ago with a man called Uwe. Last year was The Hate You Give. I did try to participate in events, community events related to that book as well, but grad school kind of got in the way. So the book they chose this year is called The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane, and it's by Lisa C. And so I don't know anything about this other than what's written on the back of the book in the blurb. And basically it's a woman who lives in a remote mountain village with her family. They live a very traditional lifestyle, surrounding like the farming of tea. And then one day a stranger comes in, he brings modernization. And with that, the girl, whose name is Leon, she basically kind of turns her back against tradition. And so they say that it's a book about self-discovery and, you know, this, I think, probably conflict of tradition versus modernization. And so this is not a book that I would normally read, but I am opening myself up to other genres and more kind of adult fiction books rather than just YA novels. And so I know I've said this a lot in the video, but I am interested in seeing if I like this book and like this style of book because it's not one that I would normally gravitate to. I'm also interested in reading this book because I do want to participate in the community events. So they have things like book discussions, maybe cultural showcases. They work with local restaurants in the community, and they'll actually set a date and time for where you can purchase like a prefix menu at a discounted price. And then when you go there, you may be seated with people you know if you're in a group, but you could also go by yourself and then be seated with people that are also by themselves or are in smaller groups, and then you can have discussions. They have like table discussions, and you don't have to have read the book, although it may help. But they are open-ended discussion questions that, in theory, you could talk about even without reading the book. So I think it's just a really great way to kind of get the community, our local community, together. And so I do want to support that community reads as well by reading my own and by reading this on my own and then participating in the events. So I think a lot of people are familiar with the Pop Sugar Ultimate Reading Challenge, and if you're not, I'll leave a link to that information down in the description bar below. I'm not affiliated with Pop Sugar in any way, but it is a challenge that I like to participate in each year. So basically, Pop Sugar creates a list of 52 challenges. It's either 50 or 52 challenges, reading challenges for the entire year. There is a Goodreads group that focuses on the Pop Sugar Ultimate Reading Challenge, and the Goodreads group takes 12 of those challenges, and then they assign one category or one challenge for each month. And then as a group, we get to vote on which book we would like to do a group read for that challenge. So for the month of January, they chose read a book that involves a puzzle or a maze. And then the book that was voted on is this one. It's The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I wanted to read this because I wanted to become more involved in reading groups and book club groups. And I thought that starting online would be a good way to do this because I know there's not many available in my own community. I wanted to just get a little bit more of that interaction and to be more interactive with the book reading community. Also, I thought this was a really kind of interesting idea. This kind of has a Groundhog's Day movie sort of feel to it. So it basically says that the title character, Evelyn Hardcastle, will die. And it says that she will die every day until another character, Aiden, can identify the killer and break the cycle. So I know that we see that motif of a single day repeating over and over again until someone does something different to break the cycle. We see that theme in a lot of movies, TV shows, but I haven't heard of it in a book format before, and so I am curious and interested, that word again that I always use, but I am interested to see how the author tackles that theme and puts it into a book format and keeps it from getting repetitive, because I feel like visually you can speed up certain parts to kind of show like, hey, we're doing the same thing over and over again, but how do you translate that into writing? So I hope I can get through this by the end of January. This next book I pulled off of the new bookshelf at my library. I don't know anything about it. It's called The City of Ash and Red, and it's by Hye-young Pyun, and this is a translated book, so it has been translated by Sora Kim Russell. I have no idea what this is about at all. It is a fairly thin book. It looked interesting. I think the blurb when I first looked at it seemed interesting, but I don't remember it now. And the cover is quite glossy because of the library cover. So I'm going into this with basically no expectations because I have no idea what's about. I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't heard any reviews. So hopefully I'll like it, but I'll let you know at the end of the month. I am expecting to have this finished by January because it is a thinner book. So I'll let you know at my reading wrap up whether or not I like this one. So this next book, The Magpie Tree by Catherine Stansfield, I didn't really know anything about it until after I had checked it out. I literally saw this book, said, I kind of like how this cover looks, grabbed it and checked it out. Let me explain why. So I'm an English language teacher in Boston, and I work with adult students. And so for a lot of our students, especially ones that are university bound, we want them to become more familiar and to be able to find resources where they can read on their own. And so I was showing them the Boston Public Library, and I took them there to get their library cards and show them around. And while I was there, I wanted to show them how to use the kiosk to check out library books. So at the Boston Public Library, you can actually go to a kiosk, check out the library book on your own, and you never have to talk to a person at the circulation desk. It's amazing. And so to do that, I just literally had to grab a book off the shelf and check it out. I didn't return it because then I actually looked at the description and I thought that it was actually kind of interesting. So again, I don't know a whole lot about this other than what I read, but it is about it says, Jamaica Inn, 1844, the talk is of witches. A boy has vanished in the woods of Trethevey on the northern Cornish coast, and a reward is offered for his return. So maybe there's witches, there's a vanished child, so we'll see. It's also a thinner book, so I thought, why not try and read this story that is so very different than what I would ever read, and something I would never have picked except for the fact that I liked the color and needed to show how to check something out from the library. The last book that I'm going to show you is one that I've actually already finished. It was an easy read. It's The Terrible and Wonderful Reasons Why I Run Long Distances. I believe the author's name is Michael Inman. It's the guy who wrote the Oatmeal comics, or writes the Oatmeal comic. And I had seen like clips or like single like images of this, of some of the comic from this posted online, and then I've heard about the Blurch run that's I think in the Seattle area and based off of this comic, and I was like, okay, I have to know what this is about, because I had heard of the Blurch but didn't actually know what the Blurch was. So I thought, let's read this, let's actually understand what it is. So the Blurch is basically this like fat character that runs after him and says, you should eat cake, this guy here. It's a very, very quick read. It's basically just comics and kind of his explanation. It's his thoughts while running of why he actually goes running, and it's fun. And I feel like as a runner there are definitely elements that I can relate to. He sounds like he's a long distance runner, like he's run marathons before, and I have not done that yet, but I have run some halves. And so there are definitely some relatable moments. And I do feel like the blurch is sometimes kind of on my shoulder as well, going, you don't need to run. You've worked really hard all day. You're tired. Go have a slice of cake, you know, which is what the blurch does to this guy. So anyway, I thought this was a really good book. It was, like I said, a really quick read. I think I read it right before going to bed, I think like 2 or 3 nights, just because I was really tired, so I couldn't get through all of it. But you could get through all of it in a day, so super quick. So that is The Terrible and Wonderful Reasons Why I Run Long Distances. All right, so those are the books that I am reading for the month of January. Leave me comments down below telling me what you are reading or planning to read for the month of January. If you've read any of these books before, I'd love to hear what your comments are. Remember, keep them kind of general in case there's anybody who hasn't read them and is also looking at the comments so they don't get spoiled. But yeah, I'd love to know your opinions. So thanks so much for watching and sticking around to the end of the video. If you're interested in seeing more reading related videos or any of my planner related videos, please click subscribe. I'd love to get your support, and I will talk to you in the comments and see you in the next video. Bye.